Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, wishing you a great week this week. Today is Monday, April 25, 2022. And for today's program, just so you have a sneak peek, our first interview will be Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion. And I do hope to catch up with him regarding Go Negosyo, regarding the different small, medium enterprises that are trying to get back on its feet, but more importantly, about the state of affairs for vaccination, because as many of you are well aware of, Joey Concepcion has been consistently campaigning for vaccination of all Filipinos, and we are reportedly facing a serious situation. The Philippine government, the country, stands to waste 40 billion pesos, equivalent to 27 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines by July, by this coming July, if we are not able to use them or maybe give them away. But that's the problem. That's a serious situation. Let's verify if that is in fact true. And after that, we will be speaking to the group that is hosting an event, the Philippine Shareholders Association of the Philippines, or Sharefield, represented by Jaime Ysmael, who will be speaking to us about an event that they are hosting related to our upcoming elections. But first, let's go to the daily starter for today, April 25, 2022. And it is from Mr. Richard Stengel. And it goes, I always told my journalists there aren't two sides to a lie. Yes, you should be non-partisan, but not neutral. Journalists must be biased in favor of the truth and facts, biased in favor of democracy itself. We protect the press so the press can protect democracy. Yan po, para sa inyong mga nagtatanong, nagko-comment, parang hindi na raw neutral ang media nowadays. Wala naman pong neutral kasi sa buhay. Kahit kayo, may pinapanigan kayo, may kinakampihan kayo, even parents. Unfortunately, not all, but many parents tend to have favorites among their children. And that can be a problem. However, in the case of us journalists, as Mr. Stengel pointed out, we have to be biased towards the truth, towards facts, and towards democracy. So wag po kayong magtaka kung kami ay kumisan lumalantad na ng aming batikos or we take our position because we are here to defend democracy. Okay. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the front page of the Philippine Star. Today, April 25, 2022. It's a Monday. The front page headline, COMELEC told, don't be onion skin. Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon has told the COMELEC officials, huwag kayong onion skin, okay? Do not be overly sensitive regarding criticisms, comments, or issues being raised or challenged by certain groups or parties because that is part of the electoral process. Because recently for COMELEC Commissioner Ray Bulay warned critics of the COMELEC, those who have been raising hell against the COMELEC, that they could call the armed forces on these critics and takes legal, if not punitive, action. Ayun po, we hope to tackle that issue. Kung ba sumusobra na ba ang Pilipino? Masyado na ba tayong maangas? Are we overstepping our freedoms of expression to the point of disrespecting or destabilizing our institutions? We will see that in future episodes. Meanwhile, on the header of the Philippine Star, the Philippine wants climate change funds for developing countries. Okay, Philippine Representative Mr. Borge raised the matter in a climate summit wherein they suggested that there should be a climate change funds for developing countries, because normally, generally, it is the developing countries who fall victim to the ill effects of climate change. And as a result, gulpi tayo, we are constantly being hammered, flooded, and destroyed by weather disaster, weather-related disaster. And therefore, those who have more money and who are benefiting or contributing to climate change should contribute to the development fund or climate change fund. Okay. Now, that beautiful photo that you see there at the top of the Philippine Star front page, that is taken from the viewing deck of the Chocolate Hills in Bohol. Okay, yan po. Bohol is one of those provinces that opened up to tourists. Meanwhile, bad news, or well, news, simple, but some people will probably see this as bad news. OFWs now required to pay pag-ibig contribution. Okay. All overseas Filipino workers are now required to immediately submit pag-ibig membership identification numbers and pay their monthly contribution according to the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration. We will look into that matter because the question is, what are the Filipino people getting in exchange? Are they getting their money's worth, or are they getting very few houses for so much, for millions, if not billions of pesos donated to the Pag-ibig Fund? Meanwhile, that center photo, supporters gathered the grand rally of the Unity Team, presidential candidate Marcos and his running mate Sara Duterte Carpio at the Arca South in Taguig City last night. And doon naman po sa COMELEC, debate mess probe finished this week. If you recall, there was a problem because there was supposed to be a vice presidential candidates debate last Saturday. That did not happen because the venue, Sofitel, said they have not been paid, magkano ba yun? 14 million pesos by the host or sponsor group. So they're now finishing the investigation. But Commissioner Ray Dulay asked for one more week to finalize his report. Okay, the bottom photo, members of the environment watchdog cycling groups take part in a ride they called Pedal for People and Planet from Quezon Memorial Circle in Quezon City to Liwasang Bonifacio in Manila yesterday morning. They are calling for bolder action on climate change from governments and corporations around the world. Last but not the least, PNP, only 2 out of 138 private armed groups active. Nasa na yung arms nila? Teacher held for bomb threats in Metro Manila School. A private school teacher was arrested for demanding millions of pesos from different schools in Metro Manila while pretending to be a member of the New People's Army. Okay. He was brilliant enough, okay? Ray Bulay. Sabi ko, Ray Bulay. Bulol lang ako. Hindi Ray Dulay. Okay. Teacher, he was bright enough to collect payment for the extortion in his own residence. Ogag talaga. Okay. So, ayun my executive producer was saying, I said Ray Dulay. Hindi. Bulol lang ako this morning. I have a bad cold. It's Ray Bulay. Okay. Now, let's go to our main program interview with the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Mr. Joey Concepcion. Good morning, Senor.
Good morning. Good morning, Cito.
First of all, I will publicly thank you and Go Negosyo for sending me a birthday gift consisting of a starter kit for a sari-sari store. Ano ba kayo? Kawan-kawan yung pinadala niyo sa akin ng champurado and popcorn. Anyway, thank you very much for that birthday gift, Joey. It's much appreciated.
Welcome, Cito. Belated again.
Okay. Anyway, then aliw lang ako kasi, it familiarized me with all the products of your different companies. And but I have to say, I love the kettle popcorn the most. Okay. Anyway, let's go to our topic. Well, before we get serious, could you just give us an insight to what's happening with Go Negosyo, what's happening with all the micro, small, medium companies and businesses? Because, at the end of the day, they really need to get a boost.
Well, we about a month back, we had the first Go Negosyo mentoring face-to-face. No, we call it Mentor Me on Wheels. And it was a huge success. Over 1,000 MSMEs came over to be mentored by the top entrepreneurs like Bernie Liu and Bing Lim Hoko and many other top entrepreneurs. So we were doing that in the past 2 years since the pandemic started, that we stopped. So we revived it. And I'm glad to see that many MSMEs who attended were seeking mentorship. And it's good to hear that quite a number of them are doing well. No? So our economy has definitely opened up, and the efforts put in by the national government, especially Secretary Galvez, Secretary Duque, and of course the private sector, really paid off. And that's why we see us in a very sweet spot. Maybe now we're more concerned about complacency, and that's why people are not taking their booster shots. But having said that, the economy is doing much better because everything is open. Tourism, you can see the number of people in Boracay. So everybody wants to get out. It's what I call revenge spending, and people revenge traveling. Everybody wants to travel. And finally, freedom is here. But this freedom may be only temporary if we don't take those boosters. But definitely, everybody is saying that they're back to basically pre-pandemic, which is really good news.
Okay, you're the guru, you're the presidential advisor for entrepreneurship, and a lot of people have been asking me this million peso question that I cannot answer. I'm a journalist. I'm not a businessman. Sir, what business can we go to, or what are the top 5 choices for people who are starting all over? If you have actual answers, that would be great. Or in general, what would be the areas that people may find easier to get into and take a shot at?
Well, most of our young people who are starting are getting into retail. You can see that all over. Talking about small entrepreneurs, sari-sari stores and carinderias are a huge base. I'm not encouraging more sari-sari stores, but that's a huge base. And the capital cost of going into one of those is much less. So you see more people in that area. But then again, the sari-sari stores are somehow evolving. They're growing and they're moving online. As they become bigger, and as they get to know how to do e-commerce, these platforms that are out there right now, which they can push products in these platforms, help extend the reach beyond their current location. Of course, restaurants, for those who have larger capitals, you can see that the Philippines is really full of restaurants all over. No, so this is, especially if you have the skill on retailing and good cooking. No, so but there are others. No, I mean the more tech and savvy young what you call these entrepreneurs are, they're developing their own app. No, and that's something that's really growing, and that's an area that our mentors on the digital platforms like Shopee, Lazada, etc., are now guiding these young entrepreneurs, and that's why we're having more of these Mentor Me on Wheels, and we continue to have our capitated mentoring programs with DTI, DA. So this has never stopped even during the pandemic. No? So, and we're trying to guide these young kids, especially. And the last time I mentored somebody who was doing what do you call these chips. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, one of those potato type of chips. And I was amazed to see that his sales on an annual basis was close to 4 million pesos. No, for somebody starting but very manual. He was employing 300 people already. No, but manual operation. So eventually, as he grows, he has to go automate. So you can see that more and more people want to start their businesses now.
Okay, what about, because we're starting all over, it has been suggested, and maybe Go Negosyo can initiate this, that our micro, small entrepreneurs need the fundamentals of accounting and inventory. Maraming Filipino, there are many Filipinos who start up businesses like sari-sari store, but don't know the golden rule of, setting aside the money, saving money, or last in, last out, etc. Is the government or Go Negosyo planning to incorporate that in the mentoring programs?
It's always part of the mentoring program. Because we Go Negosyo focuses on the 3 M's, basically mentorship, money, and market. And we are teaching them on how to handle money, especially micro entrepreneurs, mostly women. But in a way, women are innate already. Somehow they're gifted to be able to manage the families. They're like the treasure of the family. So basically, it's cash flow management. And they have simple cash flow management, what comes in and what goes out, and then it's basically an EBITDA profit in our language. But whatever they earn, sales versus cost of product and etc., and they determine that cash flow. So but it's cash flow management whereby they make sure if they make about, let's say, 5,000 pesos or 10,000 pesos a month, they allot certain things for growth. In other words, additional products to purchase if they were on the retail. Their bank loans with MFIs. So they normally borrow from microfinance institutions. So they have to set aside how much they should pay on a regular basis. Ang yung pautang rin nila, remember, they also lend. As they borrow money, they also lend through this notebook. It's still the traditional way where people make lista, and then the neighboring community, that's how they sell. So may pautang rin yan, to families that they know. So that still is there. So cash flow management is very important. Separating what will they use for their personal or their family, what they call it, living purchases of their basic food at home, and then keeping what is in the business, just making sure that they don't draw out so much money for other reasons that they will deplete the working capital, and that's when they get into trouble.
Okay. Last question regarding entrepreneurship before we go to the boosters and the vaccines. Is there any plan or are there any legislations in the legislative agendas in the work where the big manufacturers, the distributors, would be required to have an access or windows that can be used by these micro, small, sari-sari operators to buy goods from? Kasi ang nangyayari right now, what's happening is many of these small sari-sari retailer, etc., buy it from supermarkets that buy it from bigger supermarket suppliers that buy it from manufacturer producers. Kumbaga, I remember, I think it was Manny Piñol, Secretary Manny Piñol, who was saying that 20% of the add-on is because of this multi-layered distribution system.
Well, there are certain supermarkets that cater to sari-sari stores, no? And these they promote the sari-sari stores to buy from them, no? And they offer really good discounts to the sari-sari stores. We also, most companies have their own distributors, no, that hit the downline market, which is basically the sari-sari stores, the carinderias, and all of that, no? And our prices are definitely very competitive to make sure that they have enough margin to be able to exist. Now, the sari-sari stores are very powerful in the sense that, for example, to be in a sari-sari store, you have to be almost the number one product out there, no? A market leader. The sari-sari store cannot have 3 or 4 brands. They don't have enough capital. They don't have enough space. No, so if you are a market leader, definitely your product will be in the sari-sari store. So they are selective of what they will buy. Just the market leaders. Maybe they would have the second challenger there, but they will not be at the same level. So that is how sari-sari stores manage it. And of course, companies like us, we provide them the necessary tools through our distributors, training. That's a lot of work being done. Go Negosyo is also doing that. But the companies themselves, through their distributors, provide also basic training. Coca-Cola, Selecta Ice Cream, all of them. Yeah. The big ones are doing that already.
Okay, let's go for a quick break. And when we return from the break, we talk everything about vaccination. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. Thank you to all our viewers as well as subscribers of Cignal TV channels 8 and 250 viewers. Maraming salamat po for watching Agenda. Now, let's bring back Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, and let's talk vaccine. Joey, is this correct information I received that there is approximately 40 billion pesos worth of 27 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines that are about to expire by July this month?
No, first of all, that is totally wrong. We have, I think, approximately about 80 million vaccines. These vaccines are not expiring all tomorrow. I mean, all medicines have an expiry life. Whether you take aspirin or whatever, they expire in time. What the government did was the right move. They bought the vaccines because we needed it. So these vaccines do not expire all at the same time. They expire through the months at the end of the year. So it depends on the date of arrival. For example, in AstraZeneca, they are now looking to extending some of these. No? So it's not a cause of concern. It becomes a cause of concern if all Filipinos starting tomorrow will stop taking the vaccines, right?
Okay.
We already have it with us in the country. So, and that was the right purchase. So so these vaccines don't expire all on June, July. It's through the months until the end of the year. And I'm also told that COVAX will replace any expiring vaccines. That's what I'm told. But the others, the Pfizers, the Modernas, and in our case, the private sector who bought Astra, we've been meeting with them. And in fairness to them, they're able to extend the life of some of these vaccines. No? But of course, those that cannot be extended, they won't extend it. So it's not a cause for alarm. What becomes a cause for alarm if our Filipino citizens will maintain their complacency because they see that cases are muted. In other words, we have no rising case despite the great mobility that we are seeing, tourism going up, so many people out there, rallies in the hundreds of thousands, all over, and still cases are, still where it is today, So people are saying, well, if there is nothing out there, why will I take the booster, And that is what we're seeing now, even with some of our employees who still have not taken it. And now we cannot force our employees. Basically, the restrictions to mobility in restaurants, have been removed. They still check your box cards, and the hotels would check your box cards. But restaurants are accepting people whether they're vaccinated or not. No, that has gone down. So in the end, it is now the basic motivation of our citizens to take it. No? But what will motivate them? Remember, Cito, during the pandemic, there was great fear. So people were scared. And when they're scared, they will run through the drugstore and take whatever they can to protect them from getting ill. But right now, that fear has really gone down. No? You can see sometimes a lot of parties, nobody's wearing a mask anymore. So everybody now has definitely less fear, maybe except for the seniors who are still staying at home, especially those in the 80s. But the rest of what I see is people are more complacent, happy, and rightly so. They're enjoying the freedom that they have not had since the last 2 years of lockdown. So you can see all of this pent-up thing that people really just want to go out and enjoy life. But then again, this will be all short-lived if those boosters are not taken, and that is a cause of concern at this point in time. And I'm really calling it because then sometime in the second half of the year, we could have something like is happening in China. Now Thailand is getting it back. If you look at Europe, Paris, the cases have gone up, Italy, and the rest of Europe, and even America, New York. So it can return. And although some people say that they don't think so, but I think looking at greater mobility and the risk of other countries, the Philippines is just so fortunate to be in this sweet spot now, and considering that our neighboring countries are being challenged. Some of them are out of it, but they're still being challenged.
Yeah, but what is the ongoing discussion among government officials? Because you have been tireless calling for more vaccination, for people to get their booster. We have constantly been supportive of that. I mean, I'm beginning to sound like a spokesman for the DOH for vaccines, but there seems to be inconsistency at the national government level. Some people say, "Oh, it's we're doing our best," but so what do you suggest be done?
Well, in fairness to Secretary Galvez and Duque, they have been mounting a lot of activities to encourage vaccination. They are now going down to the house to house. No? They have been doing this in the malls. They have been doing a 1 million, 2 million a day vaccination drive. No? All of these efforts have been there and continue to be there. Of course, with the private sector support, the malls open up now. The drugstores are opening up. So the real challenge here is also misinformation out there. There's so much misinformation being spread by the anti-vax, no? And that's something that especially those who have not been educated as to the real truth behind this, tend to sway and believe that. And again, to me, the biggest issue right now is people are just complacent because, in a sense, no, the cases are muted. There may be some cases moving up, but it's nothing of concern, according to Father Nikos and some other medical doctors.
Yeah, you used a key word, muted, because I remember back in 2020, we didn't have thousands, and yet there was a heightened sense of alert, and the DOH and government officials were essentially banging the gong, so to speak, calling everyone's attention. But now we have higher numbers than 2020, but it's like que sera sera.
Well, no, Cito, the infection level is really low. In fact, if you can tell me among your relatives or friends, do you know anybody is sick at this point in time? Mm-hmm. I always ask that question, and people say none of the relatives or friends are sick. So that sense of security is right there now. That sense of, we're in a safe mode. And frankly speaking, definitely we are, considering, these activities, this high mobility, it has been with us since already January. We're already in May, no? And normally we had rallies already. How many rallies that are so huge in the past months? And you're still at this level. The hospitals are basically very wide open. There's a lot of capacity. When I looked at PGH, of course there are some people getting sick. You can see that, but it's not severe, no, because they're vaccinated. No? The ones that are entering the hospitals are still the unvaccinated. So that is what I'm trying to say. There is that complacency because there is less fear, no. So what brought about greater demand for vaccination early in the pandemic was the fear of people dying.
What about tracking? Because all of us are recorded. All of us who've been vaccinated are on record. What about local governments or whoever tracking these individuals all the way to their front door? Because if you can't get them to go vaccinate, then you can bring the vaccine. I mean, you already mentioned how Secretary Galvez and Secretary Duque have initiated door-to-door. Is still dependent on the local government, and as you know, everyone's busy with campaign. Now, it has to be, I suppose, at this point, DOH initiated, wherein they track down all those who have not been vaccinated with a booster and go after them.
I really don't know the details, but of course, the election now, with the campaign really getting heated, LGUs are quite, they have their hands full in all of this. And of course, there is that disruption. Before, there was no election. The focus was basically the pandemic and the issues of infections. So LGU 100% was focused on that. That's a fact that we have just to live with in this situation. It ends anyway on on election day, May 9. And hopefully moving forward, the LGUs now will be able to refocus. But even as we speak, I'm told that they are going to mount more of this house to house and try to target the 1 million vax a day. I mean, all of these programs that were being done are still going to be pushed. No? But in the end, this is what we came out and shared a release yesterday. That this is a time that Filipinos should be patriotic in a sense. No? We are getting hit with the Ukraine-Russian crisis. We as manufacturers are feeling it. We cannot pass the cost, that the increase in prices to basically our distributors, which will hit the consumers. No? So if we have this alert level 1 move up to alert level 3 or alert level 4 because cases are going up, no way can these MSMEs withstand it anymore. Because remember, they refinanced their obligations coming out from the pandemic. Number 2, this Ukraine-Russian crisis, they will eventually feel the increase in prices of what they are buying to resell. No, so once consumer spending slackens because of inflation, and then you will have definitely less demand because people will buy less or will be more selective. No, so that is our fear, and that's what we are trying to manage. And that we cannot have an alert level 3, alert level 4. And this is why I'm saying that let us protect the gains we have, the freedom that we have, the economic activity that is helping these poor MSMEs. And as a citizen, it's important that you protect yourself. And the government has done its part in buying these vaccines for you. So let us protect this nation, its economy. And as Secretary Dominguez said, we have to grow at no less than 6% to pay back the trillions that we have borrowed. And he is correct, because the Philippines is like a corporation. Its revenues are driven from us taxpayers who make money either out of our business or out of our salaries. So that is the income of Philippines Inc. But if businesses do bad, then of course they will pay less taxes. If people are released and are let go because of an alert level, they will have no jobs. So how will they pay taxes? So the Philippines Inc. will not have enough revenues to pay its obligations. It's as simple as that. And this is the picture I'm trying to say, that we are calling it now because I don't want it to be too late. No? We have good vaccines. They're still good. But if you guys don't take it, of course, we will have problems. Even if the WHO would say we will replace it and all of that. So our citizens have to be, in a sense, patriotic. More patriotic, in a sense.
I can already sense your frustration, and I am with you on that one, Joey. But don't worry, we will not stop reminding people. And at the end of the day, we are either part of the solution or we become part of the problem. Thank you very much for your thoughts and your efforts. The country.
Cito, can I just one more thing? So
go ahead.
The business sector is working on giving out incentives. No? So I'm trying to work with the different restaurants, cinemas, and all of them, talking to them that maybe we can come back and offer incentives to those who are going to take the booster. But of course, some of them are being challenged with the higher raw materials. But we're working that out. We have a town hall this morning at 9 a.m. and Secretary Duque and some of the medical advisors will be there. And hopefully we get the business establishments to support an incentive for those taking the boosters. Thank you again, Cito, for the support.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Joey Concepcion, Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship. And we will now go for a break here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. Thank you for joining us this morning and following that very passionate appeal of Joey Concepcion para po sa inyong mga nabakunahan na. Those of you who have been vaccinated against COVID twice, please get the third booster shot. And if you are like me, who is a senior citizen with comorbidity, I am waiting to be called for the fourth booster shot because as Secretary or as Joey Concepcion pointed out, it is already the end of the month or the last week of April. So beginning January, February, March, April, that's already 4 months. By the time May comes, palaos na, pahina na yung bakuna, the vaccine would start waning, etc. It will be there to give you partial protection but not full coverage. Kumbaga, baka TPL lang yung katawan ninyo. Okay, so please get whatever booster shot is available. Don't play games with your life, okay, and the life of others. Now, let's now go to our next guest. He is the president of Sharefield or Shareholders Association of the Philippines. He is also president and chief executive officer of QualiMed Health Network, an AC Health company, and also president and chief executive officer of Healthway Philippines. Okay, in case you don't know that, these are the facilities that are available, are present in the malls where you can get your medical test, consult, etc. without having to go to a hospital. Kumbaga, no, nagmo-malling ka na, doon pa sa mall, pwede ka nang magpa-blood test, pwede ka nang magpa-x-ray. I know because I go there. Okay. Now, let's bring in Mr. Jaime Ysmael to talk to us about this program they have, Boto Mo Kinabukasan Natin. Okay, Mr. Ysmael, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Cito. Glad to be back.
Okay, and just for those who are not familiar, could you make the connect for us, Mr. Ysmael? I don't know if I'm supposed to call you Jaime or Jimmy.
Just call me Jimmy.
Jimmy. Okay, naniniguro lang, no? Jimmy. Jimmy, kasi some people don't know what Sharefield is all about, and some people are wondering, bakit yung Sharefield biglang may Boto Mo Kinabukasan Natin campaign or program? Kindly explain.
Well, thank you for that question, Cito. Well, Sharefield is really all about enabling Filipinos to invest wisely, gain financial security, and eventually contribute to the socio-economic growth of the country. So that's our purpose, as you probably see on the screen as my background. And our advocacy is really to educate investors, give them the right tools to actually make the wise investment decisions and empower them. And so we are really there to educate Filipinos. But we believe that why are we having this advocacy? Because we believe that choosing the right candidate is also a very critical element to achieve economic growth and the development of the Philippine capital markets. It's like making the right investment. When you choose from among the different investment vehicles, it's similar to choosing the right candidate. You have to understand what the candidate stands for, or what the product is all about. Effectively, what the track record of the company is, or the track record of the candidate, and what the plans and programs of the company is or are, and which is related to the platform of the candidate. So we believe that it's a critical element for us, Sharefield, to also be involved in actually ensuring that every vote counts, that our electorate are given the right framework with which to choose the candidate, because at the end of the day, if that will actually define the kind of future that that they will have for themselves, their families, and the entire country. So that's the reason why we got involved in Boto Mo, Kinabukasan Natin, which to us adequately captures what we're trying to do.
What exactly is Boto Mo, Kinabukasan Natin? What sort of an event is this, or what sort of a program is this, and how will you go about educating Filipinos?
Yeah, it is actually every year we come up with a summit, a theme for the summit, which is our main investor forum. This year, since it's an election year, we thought of making it, using this theme. No? And actually, there are two parts of the summit. The first one was already held in March, where we actually invited speakers from different sectors, starting with a political analyst, and then eventually representatives from different groups of organizations as well as individuals. And the purpose of that is really to provide our voters with a framework on how to choose the right candidate effectively. By getting the insights of these influencers and special interest groups, we were able to get some basic principles on how voters should choose the right candidate. So hopefully that gives them that input that they can use in deciding who to choose as their president, vice president, and senators and candidates. Now, part two of the summit, which we are holding on Wednesday, April 27, from 4 to 6, is the flip side of that, and basically dealing with how do we ensure, or how do we inform or make the electorate confident that the sanctity of the ballot will be respected, that the COMELEC, which has been empowered to actually make that happen, has all the right mechanisms in place to ensure that votes are counted properly, are respected, that ballots are protected. At the same time, we also have civil society, or those in charge of monitoring the progress of the elections. We have some representatives from PPCRV, NAMFREL, Lente, who will actually also interact with our COMELEC speaker. And we're fortunate to have Commissioner George Garcia will join us. And then we have other representatives from Myla Villanueva from PPCRV, Gus Lagman from NAMFREL, and Attorney Ona Caritos from Lente, that will be facilitated by Christian and Esguera. So this forum is part two. And by holding these two sections, hopefully we will be able to inform and educate the Filipino voters in choosing the right candidate, and give them confidence that things will actually be done properly, that their votes will be counted well, and that the sanctity of the ballot will be protected.
Jimmy, what's your reaction to the observation that, yes, it's good you were educating the Filipino voters, but what about the business sector? How educated, or how wise, if you would, how wise is our business community? Because there is a general impression that when it comes to elections, the business community, by and large, lahat tinatayaan. They bet on all horses so that whatever the results, they still come out a winner.
Well, yeah, I think that insight is quite valid, as we all know, unfortunately. But it's I think it's a natural. It's something that I guess most, if not all of businesses naman are like that, but it happens at the end of the day. But I think it's really because they're probably looking at effectively making sure that they can operate in whatever environment that may happen. But I think aside from that, or that aside, actually, they are doing a lot of things to actually educate their own employees. No, of course, indirectly, it's not something that they can do openly because, again, at the end of the day, each and every one of us, no, employees included, have our own views, no, and have our own principles that we adhere to. But basically, they encourage them to participate in whatever forums there may be, express their views openly, and then educate them on these things that we're talking about. No, how the election process will be conducted, what the government is trying to do. So basically, just encouraging our employees to be active participants, and effectively is already what they're doing to a certain extent in terms of ensuring that everybody's rights or thoughts are respected. And at the end of the day, what is important that all of them exercise their right to vote. No, but yes, that I think that's more the focus of companies that I know, just empowering their employees to exercise their civil liberties or the voting right, and be aware of the issues.
I don't know if you've done any surveys among your members, but I got the shock of my life in the last 2 weeks. I have discovered quite a number of people who are not registered and therefore not voting in this upcoming elections. Although the COMELEC has said that there are more registered voters in this election than in past, and there is more activity even in overseas Filipino workers voting. But what is the observation of Sharefield in terms of registered voters and employees exercising that right?
Well, that also came as a surprise. No, I also just learned about it in the media. But I think by and large, the numbers are still up, relative to what it was before. In fact, a lot of companies and the business community have actually encouraged their employees, to actually register and vote. And we've seen that happen. A lot of for my company alone, I saw a lot of voters, who were not able to vote during the last two, me included, who actually renewed our voter registration. And as a result of which, I also checked my name or my household name in the website of COMELEC, and it's there. So I think that's probably more of an exception. I don't know how prevalent that is. How many voters were technically disenfranchised? But it's I think by and large there's been quite a number who were able to register or renewed their registration or got registered for the first time, which in most cases a lot of Gen Zs and Gen Xs for the first time will vote now, and I think the companies did their own campaigns to ensure that all of them register. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the extent of that is.
Is Sharefield simply exercising or performing its corporate and civic duty in hosting this event, boto mo kinabukasan natin? Or is there something more at stake? I mean, are you guys worried that about the outcome of these elections?
Well, it's really more, again, really just exercising as our right, as our effectively our goal of educating Filipinos at the end of the day. It is important, especially now that we're coming off from a pandemic, 2 years of pandemic. Things have really gone. A lot of things need to be happening, or we need to recover. So we felt that more than ever, it's important that we actually become an advocate of asking our citizens to actually exercise their right. because we are all in this together. We need to make sure that we choose the right candidate that will actually make that transition, that hard transition from pandemic to post-pandemic happen as soon as possible.
Okay, hard transition, hard question. Have you or your group seen any one of these candidates present a credible, realistic program or plan of action that guarantees job generation? Because after the May elections, the turnover of government, we are going to have to concern ourselves with jobs. Now, given that, who have you seen from any of these candidates a real workable program or plan?
Well, Cito, I have to apologize. No, Sharefield has been very non-partisan, and we don't really we don't want to.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to name names. You don't have to endorse anyone.
I think what's happening is a lot of them, or almost all of them, actually have outlined very similar platforms, no, on how we can get out of this pandemic situation, and I think the operative word is to attain inclusive growth this time around, making sure that the benefits of development and recovery trickle down to everybody, regardless of income class, regardless of stature or belief, no. And we believe that again, the platforms are very similar. I think it boils down also to execution, making sure that the candidate, whoever wins, chooses the right executives, no, who will actually implement the programs. And the ideas on how to do it is not wanting, no, are not wanting. A lot of business groups have already effectively contributed in defining what that platform or economic agenda should be. Okay. So I think the key is getting the right set of.
Well, Jimmy, when is this boto mo kinabukasan natin event going to be?
Okay, this is the second summit, again with the COMELEC as well as the PPCRV, NAMFREL, and Lente will be participating. It will be held on Wednesday, April 27, this coming Wednesday, and it will be at 4 to 6 p.m. All you need to do, if I may invite our viewers or participants, is just go to the Facebook or YouTube channel of Sharefield or Shareholders Association of the Philippines, and you can already gain access to that event on Wednesday.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jimmy. We've run out of time, but congratulations, and I wish you all the best for this event, and good luck to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cito.
Okay, that's Mr. Jaime Ysmael, President of Shareholders Association of the Philippines. Just as a wrap-up, ladies and gentlemen, paalala ko lang po sa inyo, when you start making your choices for your president, vice president, senators, etc., do it. Excuse me. Do it like you are choosing someone to marry. Choose someone you can live with. Choose someone you know you can trust. Choose someone you know is looking out for you, okay? And last but not the least, make sure that these are people that are not going to walk out on you once you've said, I love you, or yes, I'll vote for you. You know, and meron pa palang mas important, equally important, please, look at their relatives as well. Okay? Sabi nga nila, pag nagpakasal ka, tingnan mo yung nanay o yung tatay kasi in 20 or 30 years, ganyan na itsura ng mister mo o misis mo. Okay, let's go to the blessing of the week. Our prayer for this week. May the Lord support us all day long, till the shades lengthen and the evening comes, and the busy world is hushed, and the fever of life is over, and our work is done. Then in His mercy may He give us a safe lodging and holy rest, and peace at the last. That is from St. John Henry Newman. I'm Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us today here on Agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH.